The following episode may contain explicit language and spoilers. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to What's Your Fandom, the podcast where myself and my good friend Stewart journey through the fandoms of film, TV, games, books and comics, flying our geek flags and talking our way through the multiverses. All of them. My name is Mike, and in this episode, Stewart and I have a chat about the Flash trailer that dropped a couple of weeks ago now. We intended to have a very brief conversation about it before our episode about The Last of Us that came out last week. But we started talking, and before we knew it, half an hour had slipped by in the blink of an eye, and so we thought it best to probably put it out as a separate episode, because as much as you guys seem to be enjoying hearing us talk for that length of time, probably not the best idea yet. It's just mad because we didn't think there'd be that much to say, but it sort of spiraled into a conversation about DC and the DCU and sort of asking some questions about the trailer in general after seeing some comments online and about whether this film, about kind of about what this film is and what it needs to do. And so it's much more than a conversation about the trailer, but I'll let you be the judge of that. If you guys would like to carry on the conversation with us, we would love to hear from you. Please get in touch with us on TikTok and Instagram. We are at FandomPod. And on YouTube, just search What's Your Fandom. As usual, all the links are going to be in the description anyway for this episode. So you can just click and like and subscribe and follow, and it would all be fabulous. And if you could give us a review, that would be really, really good. Give us a cheeky little 5-star review on Spotify, and as promised, we will be your best friends forever. You will be stuck with us. Anyway, shall we just flash forward? Let's listen to our episode about the Flash trailer coming up on What's Your Fandom.
It would be remiss of us to call ourselves a geeky podcast without actually talking very briefly about the trailer for the Flash movie that dropped. Was it last week now?
Yeah.
At time of recording. We were going to record last week about it, but time got in the way. And the trailer dropped, and it got me quite excited. How do you feel, like Mr. Batman fan?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Because, to actually see, Michael Keaton, in the Batman suit in the trailer was just like, shit. This is, obviously we knew he was going to be in it, but to actually see it was just brilliant. And
the way the music cue came in as well, his music cue from behind him as he walked. And I was like, oh my God.
Yes. No, it was really good. I think, with the first teaser, you don't really see anything, do you? They just had the back of the head shot, didn't they?
Yes.
And then that was it, as far as Batman was concerned for the trailer. But yeah, with this now, you're seeing, obviously you have to have Keaton saying, "I'm Batman" in his way.
Yes, it's required.
Yeah. The suit just looks brilliant.
It's different, right?
Yes, slightly.
Do you want to talk us through how it's slightly different?
Well, I've seen some still shots of it beyond the trailer, but it looks as though what they've done is, I know they've taken away the yellow belt and they've just replaced it with a black belt, sort of more kind of a tactical kind of looking belt.
Yeah.
I think they might have altered the gauntlets, so his gloves are slightly different.
Okay.
But
they've kept the quite iconic kind of headpieces that goes all over his neck as well. Because I know that famously he couldn't turn his head, could he?
That's right.
He had to turn his whole body to look, and it was very rigid. And I think that probably is staying, but perhaps there's some artistic license in that as we move forward. Perhaps he will be able to turn his head a bit more in the film. Who knows?
Yes.
But he did that amazing flip thing off the ledge and flew down, and that was amazing.
Yeah, that's the thing I liked about it. That sort of that cape deploy that he had. That was just that's Keaton's Batman, right there. Really good. And Do you think? I'm just thinking about this now. Like, nostalgia seems to be like a really kind of big like selling point now in these films, isn't it?
Huge, huge. I think nostalgia is where the money is at. Ever since people like Netflix started doing a sort of limited series of previously cancelled programs and stuff, and they really paved the way. And I think loads of people now are going down that route of bringing back stuff that we've enjoyed from the past. It seems to be what's very trendy.
Yes. Well, if it
Very
works,
trendy.
it works, right?
100%. And then I'm not going to leave Ben Affleck to the end of this conversation. Let's talk about him second, because he is back too. And I mean, his suit looked awesome. And was it him on the bat bike?
I think it was.
Because it's like a blue kind of cape. No,
Yes.
yeah, it is a bit more blue, isn't it?
Yeah, they've gone for the blue and grey look, which is reminiscent of like sort of like 1950s to 1970s comic book Batman.
I quite like that.
Silver Age look like. Yeah, they've never done that on the big screen before.
No,
They've always gone like black, like with
like what?
black.
Ah, right.
You have to say it like that, otherwise it won't make sense.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's nice that they've gone with the sort of like they've added in like the sort of the grey with like the blue. I'd be curious to know like how that works. Is this, how can I put it? Like, is this going to be the Affleck that we've seen in other Batman films, or is this him portraying a different version of Batman?
Well, I mean, this is the hot question, I guess, isn't it? Because obviously the Barry Allen we have is the Barry Allen we've seen already from Justice League, and it's continuing his story. I'm assuming that would only make sense. There'll be no point in going to Barry Allen from a different universe.
No,
because it makes sense with what's happening going forward. That it'd be the Barry Allen we know changing things and going to the Batman of another universe. So I don't know. It could be multiple universes though.
Yeah,
and timelines and things. We don't really know much about that other than so it could be different. I mean, he looks like the Bruce that we know from that area, but then at the same time, he's got a new suit.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ben Affleck Batman we've seen so far has always been black.
Yes.
That was my best. I can't do that. I don't have the gravel. But we don't know.
It's strange. I mean, the thing is, they could be, it could just be like another version of Affleck's Batman in a different universe.
Yes, it could. Because we see in the trailer that Barry meets another Barry.
Yes.
In a universe without metahumans.
Yes. So they're touching on the Flashpoint storyline there a little bit.
Right.
So my understanding, like with Flashpoint, I only ever read like issue number 1. It didn't really hold my attention, but they adopted that storyline for the Flash TV series of Grant Gustin. Yeah, so it's a timeline where he goes back to save his mother, but in doing so, he creates a timeline where there are no superheroes.
Right.
Pretty much. I know in the Flashpoint storyline, because I've seen like the animated Flashpoint movie, which is really good. I would recommend that. So when Superman like lands on Earth, he doesn't get taken in by Jonathan and Martha Kent. He gets taken in by like US government.
Okay.
So they sort of treat him as a sort of like an alien prisoner, and they just sort of harnessing him for his powers. But so he doesn't have the sort of the morality that's been instilled in him then from his adoptive parents.
I'm with you.
And so he also wouldn't have known much about his own culture because he wouldn't have seen the thing from Jor-El.
No.
And so none of that. So it's just he's pure like government prisoner, basically.
Well, that coincides with what they've kind of done with Supergirl in the trailer.
Yes.
Because she's in a cell, isn't she? All like bones and skin and bones, and then you see her in the sunlight kind of absorbing the light, and then with her powers.
Yeah.
I love her suit. Can I just say, put that out there? I love her suit.
It's good, isn't it? I really like it.
It's different, but it's a play on what we already know.
Yeah, well, I first saw I remember seeing still images of the suit way before like the trailers came out.
Oh, ages ago it was out, wasn't it?
It was like a year ago maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was the still shots had her in the suit, but she didn't have a cape. I remember thinking like, oh, she just doesn't have a cape. That's quite cool, like. but obviously they've given her the cape now and it's in the trailer and whatever. But I do remember thinking at the time, oh, this would be kind of cool to see another Kryptonian where they can make the suit look different, but as you say, like with that familiarity with the emblem and and
Yes.
almost the texture of the suit,
Yes.
which is quite interesting. Like,
Very. And as we're talking about Supergirl, General Zod is back.
yes,
I didn't know that was happening.
No, same. No, I'm guessing this plays into the idea now where Barry's obviously altered the timeline again, isn't he? So I wonder if they're going to do a sort of. I wonder if this is going to be their way where they can flip things with like Henry Cavill's Superman. So basically, if they do a thing where they alter the timeline where, oh, it wasn't Superman that got sent to Earth, it was Supergirl that got sent to Earth. Would that be their way of sort of erasing him from continuity? Because they had scenes, didn't they, where it showed the world changer from Man of Steel.
Yes.
So they had that. So it's like they're kind of saying like, oh, this is going to be like events of Man of Steel, but almost they're swapping out Superman with Supergirl.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, but I could be wrong.
I wonder why.
Hmm.
If they had this plan to bring Cavill back anyway, which was obviously going to be the plan, and now that's been scrapped.
Yeah.
I wonder why they made the decision to have him, her, not him. I'm not complaining because I think it'd be really interesting to see this variant of Supergirl. But I will. This kind of leads me into my next point because obviously you can't avoid other people's opinions, can you? Especially on the interweb, where on Twitter there's a lot of opinions. But there were three. I was having a little look because I'm kind of getting back into my own personal Twitter a little bit. I tend to have a nice little kind of positive corner of my own Twitter, but sometimes that negativity does seep through. And there were three sort of overriding feelings about the Flash film that were on the, I'd say, negative spectrum. The first thing would be that people don't really want to go and see anything with Ezra Miller in it.
Right.
And that because of the controversy surrounding them and what's happened in real life. Yes. So that's there. The second thing was that there's just so much excitement about Keaton returning as Batman. Why didn't they just do another Keaton Batman film?
Yes.
Right? There's that. Especially if we're establishing multiverses and everything.
Yes.
And they've sort of, they're happy now to have multiple Batmen around all the time, if that's what's happening. And the third thing was kind of, what's the point in going to see this film if it isn't going to lead anywhere? It isn't going to have a sequel, or it isn't going to have its own trilogy, or lead to anything other than a massive reboot of the DC cinematic universe. And kind of that's how I took like seeing the Supergirl, which is really cool. And she looks like a really interesting version of the character with a cool suit. But is this it? And going into it now, there's this mentality of we expect to see them again and want more of them, and it to be part of a bigger story and a connected universe, which is what James Gunn has already spoken about that he's going to be doing, but disregarding what's already happened. Yes.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I think, my take on it is, whatever's going on with, with Ezra Miller, that's down to that's down to Warner Brothers to sort of sort that out. You could argue, they've had this issue with, remember they had that ongoing case with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp?
Yes.
So obviously they wrote her out as Mira. I think she's been flat out recast.
Oh, right.
I think. I could be wrong. Or I think it's what people were asking for, given everything that's happened, and that they should really be, shying away from that sort of thing. But then, I don't know. I think this is where it's a little bit different, isn't it? Because I'm going to flip this one for a sec, right?
Go on.
Take Game of Thrones, for example, right?
Okay.
You had Jack Gleeson play in Joffrey Baratheon, or Joffrey Lannister. Everybody hated the character, but you had people then who kind of hated the actor because they couldn't separate.
Right.
They couldn't separate the two. Which for me, it's a credit to his acting. If they hate him that much, he obviously did a good job, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with this situation, it's a little bit different, isn't it? Because you've got Ezra Miller who's playing superhero, who's all about
The lead.
the lead superhero. It's their film.
Mm.
So, but given like everything that they've done, it's kind of like, well, what's going to be happening about that? I mean, whatever's going on like legally, that's up to them, isn't it?
It is. It's a really strange one because we're living at in a time where we are so aware of what goes on beyond the screen, and that gives us a right to an opinion, and that opinion now has the power to change whether somebody is in a film or not doing their job that they've been hired to do. And that in itself is fascinating. But but where does the court of public opinion draw the line between that as a business and our opinion about a person?
Yes.
Very difficult area to discuss.
Yes, it's the cancel culture, isn't it?
It is, which seems to be growing, and yeah, it is interesting. But the whole point being, like, what's the point in seeing this film? Having said that, right, I did see a tweet this morning where somebody kind of echoed what you and I said in our James Gunn episode, where like Marvel seems to be steadily plodding along, which is fine. But DC are doing something which is potentially making us more excited.
Yes.
And I personally feel after that trailer excited, taking on board all those things. I'm very, you and I discussed already that we think this is it for Michael Keaton, and it probably is. So it's going to be great to see him again. And it's a shame it's the end, but it's the end. But he's already had an end. It's a weird one.
Yes.
Seeing this flashed, putting our time now into learning about this Barry Allen and wanting to be on his side and wanting him to, you create a bond with the main character in a film.
Yes.
And and knowing this is it, it's either going to make it absolutely brilliant because it's a one-off, and we're all going to be desperate for more, but they're not doing it, or it's going to be a bit like, oh well, it's done now, let's move on.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. There's a lot riding on this film, isn't there, in terms of expectation for future DC movies, I think.
I mean, granted, they haven't said they're not going to do any more Flash sequels.
No.
Have they? They haven't said, no, that's it. But it wasn't mentioned in his announcement. It felt like they were very much going to be drawing a line.
Well, it could just be a simple case of, they don't want to like spoil anything in this film. If there's something that leads to a potential sequel.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, you're right.
Story. I mean, you could theorize all day as to like what could happen in the actual film. But when you mentioned there now about like getting excited for the trailer, I recently watched Wakanda Forever.
Oh, same. I did too.
So I watched that on Disney Plus, and I'm getting to a point now. If like it was personally, I thought it was way too long. It was like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
It was long,
but there was nothing beyond like the Chadwick Boseman tributes, which were lovely and genuinely, made me cry at the start of the film. I felt like it's just another Marvel movie.
Yeah. And that phrase right there, I completely am with you. It's just another Marvel movie. Are they done? I feel like something drastic has to happen in order for us to be pulled back into the hype that was the Avengers.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just thinking now that the last Marvel movies I watched. So we've had Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Then it was Thor: Love and Thunder, and this. I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder, I went to see it in the cinema, and I did enjoy it, and I did find it funny. But then a part of me was a bit like, I could just wait for it to come to Disney Plus, like.
Yeah.
And this is how I'm feeling about the film. So the point now, where like when they finish in, you stick around for the post-credit scene or wherever. Which at the moment, their post-credit scenes, they don't seem to like massively be leading to like a big like Avengers plot.
No.
It's just kind of like an extra scene, and I just kind of sit there. It finishes, and I just kind of go, Okay. And that's it. And
Yeah.
I'm not excited. I watched the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 today.
Yeah.
It looks all right.
It does look all right.
But I'm not like, oh my God, I can't wait to... I'm not like that.
No, same.
For me, like they've lost me with that, if I'm honest with you. That's that genuine excitement. Like I know Ant-Man, is it Quantumania? Quantumania?
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's come out now this week.
Yes.
But I'll be honest, I'll probably wait till it comes to Disney Plus.
So we're going to go and see it this afternoon, actually, or
Right.
this evening, because we just wanted to go out and we fancied going to the cinema. We haven't been for so long, and Ant-Man is on, and I was like, let's just go see it. It'd be nice, something to do, you know. But I'm the same as you. We could happily wait for Disney Plus, but I think the good thing about going to the cinema, and I'm a big advocate of the cinema because you do have to put your phone away. You do have to concentrate on the film, and you do get more from that experience because you have to be absorbed by what's in front of you.
Yes.
So I'm hoping having that will add to the experience of the film, you know?
Yes.
But I'll let you know what I think because I'm going to go see it. And I quite like the Ant-Man films. They don't blow me over, but I do quite like them, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all right.
I'm hit and miss, if I'm honest. I've only watched the first one.
So you haven't even been drawn to watch the second one? That's mad.
Ant-Man was in phase 2 of Marvel.
Right.
So it was in the same phase as Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 3. So, and those films kind of weren't as great as I thought they were going to be.
Right.
So I think for me, maybe I was just in a bad mood.
Do you know what? I'm really looking forward to starting a discussion on Marvel with you, actually. Because I think that's going to be an interesting, topic, a long topic, but I think it's going to be an interesting one. So let's park Marvel. Let's conclude on The Flash. So, I mean, generally speaking, I'm very excited.
Yes.
I am, which is weird because I'm very aware this is probably going to be it. But am I more excited to see Michael Keaton's Batman? Probably. Am I quite excited to see Ben Affleck back? Actually, yes, I probably am. Because I feel like his Batman didn't get a fair shot.
That's true. Yeah.
The Flash and Barry Allen, like, I'm thinking of him now as a plot device just to get us to the Batman. That's kind of how I feel about it. Because, I mean, I've watched the Flash TV show, most of the series. I'd say I've watched about 6 seasons. I think it's on 9 now.
It is.
I had to stop because it just became all the same. But, you know, I don't think that the film is going to give me anything radically different than the show gave me, other than the Batman.
Okay, yeah.
Because the twisty time travel, paradox stuff, that's going to be addressed, and that's great. But it's going to be about the rest of it, and seeing General Zod, and seeing Supergirl, and seeing how they start the next phase. That's what it's going to be about for me. But I am generally excited. How about you?
I am excited. I think, for me, the selling point for me is totally Batman.
Yeah.
But
surprise.
Yes. But I think at the same time, it's like, well, part of me is a bit like, oh my gosh, how is it taking this long for The Flash to get his own film?
True.
There's a bit of that, but I'm curious to see what they do. The idea that, there's 2 Flashes happening in the same kind of film. I'm curious to see how that will play out and what that'll mean. I have tiny little fan theories as to where I'd like it to go, but I tend not to delve into them too much. 1, for the sake of disappointment if they don't pan out, and 2, it might be far-fetched, and we've only seen like 1 proper trailer.
Yes.
So it could be way off.
But it's out soon.
Yeah, June, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not that far away.
No.
So, that's cool. It's the summer blockbuster, and I've been to see the kind of Snyder in the cinema, and I was one of those people who I went to see Man of Steel and loved it. I went to see Batman vs Superman and really enjoyed it. I was one of those people who did actually really enjoy it, and then came out and everyone was really criticizing it and thought, did I go and see a different film? I couldn't. I understand their criticisms.
Yes.
And where they were coming from, and we'll get to that in a whole other conversation, I think. But just generally, I really enjoyed it. Like you said in our gun episode, I didn't hate the Suicide Squad, the first film. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I thought it was all right. I've watched it a couple of times since, and there are elements of it that I'm disappointed in, but I can kind of I'm okay with it. Like the Justice League, I was disappointed in that first hash job that Joss Whedon came in and did after Snyder's tragic stuff in his own personal life. But it really wasn't a good job that he did on that. And then hearing all the controversy that happened since, which I think is probably why the cut happened, or certainly was a contributing factor to them actually giving the money, because of everything that spun out afterwards about Joss Whedon and his toxic set culture and his discrimination and his bullying and all that stuff, which we're going to have to get into another time because I want to talk about it. But yeah, and then the Snyder Cut happened, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I really enjoyed it. I've watched it twice, and I actually feel like I want to watch it again. I'm on board. I want to watch it again. I really enjoyed it. Wonder Woman, I really enjoyed the first one. The second one isn't so great, but it isn't as awful as everyone says about it. It isn't as bad. If you watch it for what it is, it's okay. Aquaman, I really enjoyed. And I will see the next one. And I've seen all of these films in the cinema, and so it's been there. They haven't got me like, oh my god, I can't wait to see the next one. That's what they haven't done. Yeah. But they have kept me going. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And this isn't kind of the final chapter. I mean, we've got Aquaman 2 coming out soon as well, haven't we? Yes. And we've got the Shazam. Really enjoyed Shazam, the first one. Yeah. It surprised me. I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the second one. So, I mean, if you take that universe as have I missed any out? Or is that all of them?
I think you covered everything.
Oh, the new Suicide Squad, I actually really enjoyed myself.
Oh, yes, that was good.
Even the giant, strange alien thing at the end.
Yes.
Which I know divided people with a bit, where they got a bit silly. I'm like, it's all a bit silly, but I actually really enjoyed it, and I actually wouldn't mind watching that again too. That's good. So I think if you take that as a body of work, I kind of fall on the side of fan. If there's two sides of the coin, there's fan and there's not a fan, I'm gonna go fan.
Yeah.
Not without its problems, but this feels like, to me, more than Aquaman does, this feels like the end of this era.
Right.
And I question whether Aquaman should have come first. Possibly. And then The Flash later on in the year. And The Flash would be the Christmas film.
Yeah.
That would have been perhaps better. Unless we don't know much about... I don't know much about Aquaman 2, though, yet. So, yeah, we'll see. But I'm looking forward to it.
Exciting.
Thank you for listening to What's Your Fandom. Please hit the subscribe button to make sure that you never miss an episode. And if you could leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, not only will we be your bestest friends forever, but it will also help other listeners to find us. You can follow us on TikTok and Instagram, where our username is @fandompod, and on YouTube, just search for What's Your Fandom. And we will catch you next time.